In the 21st century, American society became entangled in a haunting criminal mystery. This case repeatedly dominated media headlines, as the perpetrator was only apprehended and brought to justice after a series of complex and prolonged investigations. The difficulty in advancing the case partly stemmed from the mysterious nature of the motive, as well as the lack of direct connections between the evidence. Even to this day, the public finds it hard to fully believe that this man was truly the mastermind behind it all. Year after year, for nearly 6 years, detectives painstakingly pieced together the truth of the case, like stitching together a tattered fabric to recreate the bigger picture. Behind this bizarre case lies a tangled story of emotion and betrayal, marked by cold, unnoticed signs that had long gone ignored. Jia Sanyang was born in 1974 in Brevard, North Carolina, into a modest family. After graduating from high school, he attended a prestigious university in Raleigh, where he built a solid academic foundation. Upon graduation, he joined a large retail company and quickly earned the trust and affection of both customers and colleagues thanks to his exceptional sales skills. However, within his circle of friends, he had a reputation as a womanizer due to his habit of frequently changing partners. Still, this reputation seemed to be something Jia Sanyang took pride in as part of his personality. Michelle Marie Fisher was born in February 1977 in New York into a loving family. She shared a close bond with her younger brother, Meredith, and their mother, Linda, who wholeheartedly supported both children throughout their upbringing. From a young age, Michelle showed a strong passion for law and economics. She attended the University of North Carolina in Raleigh, where she excelled in both fields and went on to earn an outstanding master's degree. In her career, her exceptional talent quickly propelled her into a leadership position at a top accounting firm, presenting the image of a successful woman with big plans for the future. At the age of 24, at the height of her youth, she planned to celebrate her birthday with friends and colleagues at one of the trendiest venues in the city. But she had no idea that a spilled cocktail would lead to a fateful turning point. The clumsy man who caused the spill, Jia Sanyang, made amends by offering her a fresh drink. That chance encounter with him won her heart through his witty conversation, and a simple date became the beginning of their story. That birthday night was more than just a celebration. It was the first time they truly got to know each other. They were surprised to discover how much they had in common. They had attended the same university, shared a love for hockey, and even admired the same band. However, neither of them was ready to move in together or consider marriage at that point. Though his relationship with Michelle was blossoming, Jia still lived with his parents in Brevard, only visiting her in Raleigh on weekends or during holidays. During one such visit, Michelle stunned Jia with the news that she was pregnant. It was a major surprise for both of them, and from that moment on, their lives were turned upside down by the arrival of a new life. While both were still deeply focused on their careers, they were now faced with the unexpected challenge of raising a child. In a state of uncertainty, Jia expressed his thoughts, but after much consideration, Michelle decided to keep the baby. About a month later, Jia moved to Raleigh to be closer and take care of Michelle, who was now expecting. The baby's arrival prompted them to get married, not out of love, but because Michelle didn't have health insurance and marriage seemed like an urgent financial solution. In the spring of 2004, their family welcomed a new member, Cassidy Elizabeth, and Michelle fully embraced her role as a mother. Although Michelle's family had their doubts about the marriage, they chose to remain silent to avoid conflict. Not long after, the young couple and their child moved into a quiet, well-equipped neighborhood. However, when Linda came to visit, she immediately sensed the tension in the home. Gia's mood was erratic, and even the smallest issues could spark arguments, while Michelle tried her best to maintain peace, constantly working to ease the tension. In the tangled swirl of this relationship, only Linda, the mother, quietly bore the heavy weight of the truth. When Cassidy was not yet 2 years old, the family received more big news. Michelle was pregnant again. But when she carefully shared the news with Jia, her calm joy left behind a strange sense of doubt. Together, they traveled to Brevard to share the news of the new life with the family. The first day passed in laughter and blessings from loved ones. A month later, they left little Cassidy in her grandparents' care, hoping to enjoy some private time to celebrate. But that joy ended abruptly when, on their way home, Jia lost control of the car, sending it veering off the road and crashing into a ravine. In the emergency of that late-night accident, both narrowly escaped death, suffering injuries to their bodies. Though they were no longer in critical condition, the extreme stress caused Michelle to miscarry, plunging her into deep pain and depression. In contrast, Gia's unusually calm reaction to the accident created a stark emotional disconnect. In the string of tragic events, that terrifying crash, along with the loss and a partner who seemed emotionally absent, cast a heavy cloud of suspicion. In the years that followed, Linda Fisher would come to see it as a sign of coming misfortune, a warning that had gone unrecognized at the time. During this difficult period, the couple unexpectedly reconnected with Manny, an old college friend of both. Though they had lost touch for some time, the spring of 2006 brought them back together. After a work trip, Jia told his wife about the reunion and invited Manny over for a visit. During the visit, Manny lamented the struggles in his marriage and family life, while repeatedly praising Jia and telling Michelle how lucky she was. Michelle didn't suspect anything unusual about Manny's demeanor, but for Jia, a man used to playing with emotions and never backing down from a game of the heart, this was a chance to get closer to Manny, crossing the line of ordinary friendship. From frequent phone calls to shared secrets, the relationship between Jia and Manny gradually shifted, eventually turning into a secret affair. Jia used work as an excuse to explain his absences, while Michelle, absorbed in family life, had no idea that a storm was beginning to consume her marriage. By the summer of 2006, when Michelle once again told Jia that she was pregnant, his reaction wasn't joy. It was cold and distant. Confusion filled Michelle's heart, and she tried to believe it was just the lingering trauma from their previous tragedy. But deep down, Jia was secretly devising a plan to escape the marriage with minimal loss. In November 2006, while Michelle was 5 months pregnant and home alone, Jia used work as an excuse to drive 300 miles away. Along the way, he booked a hotel room. That evening, Michelle, heavily pregnant, had a long phone call with her best friend, confiding about the problems in her marriage and mentioning a heated argument she had with her husband the night before he left. After the call, she tucked her daughter into bed and lay down beside her. Around 10 p.m., Jia arrived at the hotel and claimed he was tired after the long drive, going to sleep immediately. In reality, he meticulously checked every exit, camera location, and mapped out a plan to leave the hotel undetected. Jia was preparing to commit what he believed to be the perfect crime, constructing an alibi he thought was unbreakable. Later that night, he called his wife's younger sister, Meredith, asking for help. He made up a story about preparing an anniversary gift for Michelle, a custom piece of jewelry, and said he had accidentally faxed the shopping list to the home machine, worried it would ruin the surprise. Meredith, who had never liked her brother-in-law, was suspicious but still agreed to help. When she arrived at the house, she entered through the side garage door, a secret entrance only family members knew about, which was often left unlocked. As she stepped inside, she sensed an unusual stillness. Scattered papers, untouched keys, and a wallet suggested Michelle hadn't gone anywhere. As Meredith climbed the stairs, the sight before her nearly stopped her heart. The bedroom door was wide open, and no voice answered her calls. Inside was a scene of blood and brutality. Michelle's body lay motionless on the cold floor, blood spattered everywhere, her skull crushed with visible signs of horrific violence. Bloodstains covered the walls and furniture, and the small, bloody footprints of little Cassidy were clearly visible next to her mother, silently recounting the terror the innocent child had witnessed. While calling for emergency services, Meredith heard a faint sound. Looking down, she saw Cassidy's tiny face, full of panic and confusion, staring up at her. Though the child was physically unharmed, her young spirit had suffered a wound that could never fully heal. Toys scattered around her mother's lifeless body quietly told of the long hours the little girl had spent in silence and death. The coroner's report revealed multiple lacerations and broken bones on Michelle's body. The mounting evidence pointed to a brutal act of violence. Dents in the skull and broken teeth confirmed the sheer force of the blows. In the corner of the room lay a blood-soaked pillow. All signs pointed to a horrifying truth. Michelle may have been beaten to death. The house showed no signs of being ransacked, suggesting the intruder had one target and one target only, the victim. There were no broken locks or signs of forced entry, as if the killer had a key or knew all the hidden ways into the home. In a tragedy that happened from within the family, suspicion naturally turned toward the spouse, even if he appeared to have a perfect alibi. Within the cold data and numbers of the case, Jia presented an alibi that seemed unshakable. He had stayed at the hotel all night and didn't leave until the next morning. Indeed, hotel records showed activity on his room key. But once the flawless facade began to crack, signs of a calculated escape plan slowly came to light. An expensive emergency exit had been wedged open with a small object to prevent it from fully closing. Not a random coincidence, but a clear indicator of premeditated intent. What raised further suspicion was the hotel's surveillance camera suddenly malfunctioning on the very night of the crime, coinciding precisely with Jia's arrival or departure. Under courtroom pressure, more doubts emerged. A mysterious figure, eerily resembling Jia, was spotted at a gas station the night of the murder, refusing to provide identification and quickly leaving. The gas station attendant firmly testified that the man was Jia, despite his adamant denial. The day before the murder, Jia had called Michelle in a state of panic with brief, urgent messages. Of the 5 calls, none lasted more than 15 seconds, and all of them suggested he was not at the hotel as he claimed. As the trial dug deeper into the details, irregularities in Jia's daily life became increasingly clear, like shadows taking shape. He was consumed by obsession with past relationships and showed signs of a violent streak, though never overtly. Each individual piece of evidence seemed insufficient to convict him, but when combined, they formed a complete picture of suspicion, opening the door to the truth. New testimonies and evidence surged forward like waves, pushing the case into new territory. By 2012, a series of new leads began to surface. A white car identical to the one Jia drove on the night of the murder was found parked in a secluded spot near the crime scene. The final piece of the puzzle came from a child psychologist's testimony. Through a silent conversation between Cassidy and her doll, the little girl reenacted the moment her father lost control and sent her mother into eternal silence. Moreover, police uncovered an illicit relationship between Jia and Manny. Previously, both had denied any involvement beyond friendship, but phone records revealed they had been in regular contact for an extended period. The pattern didn't match that of a typical friendship, especially in the weeks leading up to the crime. Meanwhile, a new witness came forward during the investigation. A waitress in a white dress claimed that around the time of the murder, she saw Jia lurking near the family's home. During the trial, the prosecution argued that, without a strong connection, clear emotional motive, and personal gain, the case could not be fully proven. The trial stretched over several months, and in the end, the jury found Jia Sanyang guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder, without the possibility of parole. Despite multiple appeals in 2014 and 2018 to change his fate, both attempts failed, while little Cassidy's future was forever reshaped by this tragedy. This tragedy was not just the loss of a life. It marked the beginning of a new chapter in someone else's. Today, young Cassidy is cared for lovingly by her aunt and maternal grandparents, growing up step by step on her own path, while Jia's existence is confined to the shrinking space of a prison cell.